Hey folks, it's 2025 and Squarespace has been a sponsor of WTF for more than a decade. But this isn't the same Squarespace that we used way back when we made WTFpod.com. It's a Squarespace for today's needs, so you can create your best online presence and keep up with the latest technology. Design Intelligence is one of Squarespace's newest features, combining 2 decades of industry-leading design expertise with cutting-edge AI technology to help you build a beautiful, more personalized website. Head to squarespace.com/WTF for a free trial. And when you're ready to create your new digital identity, use offer code WTF to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. That's squarespace.com/WTF, offer code WTF.
Lock the gate!
All right, let's do this. How are you? What the buddies? What the nicks? What's happening? I'm Marc Maron. This is my podcast. Welcome to it. I'm recording this on Sunday. I am in Denver, Colorado. So it's not Monday morning, but I know it is for most of you. And I know for at least 75,017,626 of you, this is going to be a horrible day. And it's going to be a horrible day for America. And it will go down in history as one of the worst days of this country. Because after today, we're not really going to know the nature of our country. I don't know what happens now. And I'm as scared as you are. And just know that they love it. They love our fear. They want us to be subjugated by all of their actions, policies, points of view, to push back on the marginalized populations of our country with no social reprisal. Look, I'm all about free speech, but just know that it's now conditional to abide by their rules, which I think mostly will be shut the f up. Equal rights are going to be on the back burner, if ever coming back, I don't know. The living wage also on the back burner. Will it ever happen? I don't know. Healthcare for all. Will that ever happen? I don't know. The idea of sustainability being an important project for the human species, I don't know where that is either. They finally won the war against tolerance, and now we got to live with it. But again, I don't think that number is unsubstantial. I mean, when you think about the electoral map, which is oddly a lot like the Duty Watch app that I've been tracking to watch fires. You know, red is a problem, all shades of it. It's a problem because despite what anybody thinks, it was always sort of the loophole of democracy that it was possible that you could freely elect a fascist that will end it. And, you know, I don't know, the nature of democracy as a government body seems to be very codependent, suffers the same problem as any codependent situation. You know, you've got this idea, this body, this entity that wants everyone to be treated equally, that wants, you know, everybody to be on the same level. It's a real people-pleasing idea, and people pleasers are vulnerable to major and profound gaslighting. So here we sit at the precipice of an authoritarian America where people will be nominated and put in positions of power where they have no capability of doing it correctly or don't know the job. Primarily so, the autocrat at the top of the pyramid has all the say and all the power. He's terrorized his stooges in the Senate and Congress and in business to fear for their own lives, if not their own careers in politics, if they do not do what he does. And that fundamentally, I don't know, it doesn't sound like democracy. I'm not trying to bum you out, but this is where we are today. And I don't, look, my fears are the same as many of yours. You know, I mean, I know some people in their denial or in their need to adapt are like, well, we'll see what happens. Yeah, we will. But I don't, it's not going to be good. And the dread and isolation and feelings of despair are real. And again, they love it. This is a trolling population of autodidactic meatheads with heads full of garbage and bits and pieces that enable them to bully and just gloat and find a real joy in that somehow or another their disposition, which is basically built on the idea that empathy is for suckers and everyone's on their own, and you just got to make do. And a lot of people that I thought were once, relatively decent people have locked into this political movement as a way to make their personal fortunes and continue their grift. And I don't know. It's not that I assumed that humans were all innately good, but it's sort of interesting to watch the ones that you thought were somewhat well-balanced, buckle for their own intentions. I flew out of a fire zone into a blizzard, and the dread of waiting for fire day to day, that feeling of a lack of control, a powerlessness in the face of natural disaster is a lot to live with. And then I came out here to Denver and did a couple of amazing shows, great people out here. In Boulder and in Fort Collins. We really had a good time. Me and Makovsky did some great sets and did what we could to ease the stress. But there was a blizzard, and that feeling of driving on ice in a car that isn't an all-wheel drive, and that weird tension where you just don't know when the car's just going to start sliding without you. That fear of powerlessness. I guess it was a primer. Is that the word I want? It was priming me for what's going to happen today and what it's going to feel like for God knows how long. But again, the desire to isolate and lose yourself in your phone and losing yourself in bask in, frightening information or information that's, I'm not suggesting, denial, but I am suggesting that, somehow or another we try to keep our heads together. I mean, on some level, a little bit of denial is necessary just so you don't lose your mind. Maybe, don't look at your phone right when you wake up in the morning. Give it a few hours, take a breath, have a nice breakfast, and then, blow your brains out with the phone, because it's going to be a show. It's going to be just like checking for fires. It's going to be every day of that. Every day. This week is going to be horrifying for tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of families who will be ripped out of their homes and thrown into transport vehicles and taken wherever, possibly to camps, possibly to countries that they haven't lived in as families for decades, maybe ever. And, that'll probably be on TV. But this is what making America great looks like to, about 77,301,917 people in this country. Taking the rights away from women. This is what makes America great. This is what does it. It's a small price to pay, right? For people who just want their eggs to be cheaper on the backs of this kind of. But look, again, don't want to be negative. Just want to say, hey, try to hold on to yourselves. Try to hold on to who you are. Try to get involved on a, community level, on a state level. See if we can, regroup something or hold the line in terms of just treating people with some decency, because the war on tolerance has been won. And, tolerance was the necessary lubricant for democracy to function. And I don't really even know what to do with the 110 million people that didn't vote at all. But, who knows? They're the wild card, I guess. But I do know, again, that 75 million plus people do not want this. And that's almost half. It's a difference of a couple million people. So we're out there. They're out there to try to, do the right thing in their day-to-day life, and probably, try to do the right thing in the civic world of your community, of your state. And I don't really know what happens, but look, you can still enjoy a nice, a nice meal. You can still entertain yourself. You can still run your errands. You can still have your friends. Just try to hold on to your minds, will you? Could you? Try to take care of the people that are vulnerable in the way that you can. I'll be in Santa Barbara, California at the Logrero Theater on Thursday, January 30th. San Luis Obispo, California at the Fremont Center on January 31st. That's a Friday. Monterey, California at the Golden State Theater on February 1st, Saturday. Iowa City at the Ingler Theater on Thursday, February 13th. Des Moines, Iowa at Hoyt Sherman Place on Friday, February 14th. Kansas City, Missouri at the Midland Theater on Saturday, February 15th. Asheville, North Carolina at the Orange Peel on Thursday, February 20th. Nashville, Tennessee at the James K. Polk Theater on Friday, February 21st. Louisville, Kentucky at the Baumhart Theater on Saturday, February 21st. In Lexington, Kentucky at the Lexington Opera House on Sunday, February 22nd. I'll be in Oklahoma, Texas, South Carolina, Illinois, Michigan in March and April. You can go to WTFpod.com/tour for all my dates and links to tickets. The set is coming along pretty well. I'm trying to think that that has any relevance or importance to anybody. That's the other thing about this thing, is to think that whatever you're doing is futile. You can't think that way. And also try not to let your mind slip and, kind of drift into thinking that maybe this isn't so bad. I guess that, again, falls under the denial umbrella, which might be necessary, but it's going to be challenging. It's going to be challenging just to maintain yourselves. Today, I talked to Bill Burr. He's been on several times over the years. I see him at the Comedy Store all the time. He's got a couple of things coming up. His new comedy special called Drop Years comes out in March on Hulu. He's also going to be in the Broadway production of Glengarry Glen Ross with Bob Odenkirk, Kieran Culkin, and Michael McKean. That's going to be, I think that's starting, they're going to start rehearsals in March. Look, I wanted to talk, and in some ways I had to talk to people who were around during the fire because everything stopped. And these fires are being managed miraculously by amazing teams of firefighters. Thank God many people, there is a type of person that wants to fight fires. Because, with civil servant jobs and jobs that, seem, I don't know, like there's a lot of jobs that are sort of thankless, but this isn't one of them. And it is driven by people that want to fight fires. That is what they want to do. That is their purpose in life. And thank God they exist. Because if there were people that were like, I don't know, this firefighting racket, there's not a lot into it. There's no future in it. I don't like my health care. It's very dangerous. So, I'm not into it. I'm going to do something easier. Thank God there are people that want to fight fires with all their heart and save lives. It's amazing. And, I guess on some level, we're all going to have to become firefighters metaphorically in our own way, in the ways that we can. Again, I'm not trying to be negative, but I'm just trying to be realistic. But Bill is here because he was around and he had to evacuate. And a lot of the talks we've had lately are pretty present. They're not backlogged. And it's good catching up with him. We have our own issues, me and Bill, but, he's sort of leveling off and he's, really kind of fighting the good fight to be a decent fella. It takes time. So, the blizzards. I've been in a blizzard. It was kind of a blizzard. It got very cold. And, I know it's hip for the grifting entertainers to kind of poo-poo climate change. And maybe we've passed the point of no return. And this is just the new reality. 23-degree below zero wind chills in Denver to the point where the hotel couldn't even heat itself. And, the ice and a lot of it's just regular stuff. But we're on the precipice of a lot of dark stuff. And for those of us who are still alive and not excited about it, it's going to take everything we got, just to do our part to push back on it or to just adapt to it, to find some quality of life in the middle of it. Oh, my God. It's so dark. It's so negative. But I'm going to go have some coffee. Look, I can tell you this. I'll keep doing this. I'll keep talking to people. I'll keep figuring out a way with my heavy heart to find humor in things or just to be self-righteous occasionally. What are you going to do? So, look, Bill Burr came by the other day, and we hadn't talked in a while. And Bill Burr, struggles. He is struggling with himself. And that's where a lot of the good stuff starts. So his new comedy special, Drop Years, will premiere on Hulu on March 14th. Glengarry Glen Ross opens on Broadway in previews on March 10th. Opening night is March 31st. Tickets are on sale now. This is me and Bill the other day. People, with Robinhood Gold, you can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on retirement contributions. The privileges of the very privileged are no longer exclusive. With Robinhood Gold, your annual IRA contributions are boosted by 3%. Plus, you also get 4% APY on your cash in non-retirement accounts. That's over 8 times the national savings average. The perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive your 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold at $5 per month for 1 year from first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years? Go to Robinhoodgold.com/boost. Over 8 times the national average savings account interest rate claim is based on data from the FDIC as of November 18th, 2024. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. It's kind of ironic in some way that you were coming over and then I had that coffee grinder up. And I went through this with that coffee grinder before. Like I couldn't get it to do the right grind. It was all the same, it was like dirt. So now I bought 2 of them. Now I got to find that part. So I was in the middle of that project. But that's a day, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And you were like, you're probably mad about something else. Yeah, I think so. But I mean, I am mad about that as well.
Right, but do you find the level that it goes to be a little excessive? Like ripping out a drawer?
Yeah, I broke things, trying to, if I just slowed down. Well, no, I think I got a little dramatic. But I was thinking about I watched a special. I think, because I deal with a lot of the same stuff you do. How old are you now, 51?
No, I'm 56.
Oh, so you're not that far from me.
Yeah.
Like a lot of this stuff's coming up for me too. The sadness, and I've talked about that before. But like, I think, and this is an observation that's kind of like something you would observe. Like, if I'm driving alone and I get lost or I get frustrated, I just sit in it. But if there's someone there, then I'm going to be like, Jesus Christ. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah. Like, like if you're driving alone, you know where you're going, you'll figure it out. But if there's someone sitting there, be like, where the fuck are we?
Right.
Like, you need the audience.
Oh, yeah. That's interesting. I wouldn't go that way. I kind of flip out whether there's somebody there or not.
Yeah.
I flipped out on the way here.
You did?
Because I'd put in your address.
Yeah.
But then on the way, I was like, oh, this is coffee shop I want to go to. So once I kept shutting it off.
Yeah.
And then it would go back into the map and it would automatically put your thing there.
Yeah.
And I screamed as loud as you could scream, I don't want to do that. And I was just like, what is wrong with me? Like, what the is wrong with me?
So how'd you, like with the fire thing, like how'd you handle it? I think you were on Kimmel last night, but you talked about it a little bit. For real, though.
How
did you freak out?
No, I don't freak out on these things, but I am freaking out somewhere. I'm just not in touch with it. So,
but you weren't directly threatened?
I didn't freak out during 9/11. I didn't freak out during the pandemic. I didn't freak out during this thing, but I freak out about the Google Map thing not working. So what I kind of was figuring out last night when I was on Kimmel is that because I don't flip out about the big
the
little is where it comes out. So I'll flip out about a cell phone because I'm upset about what I saw, when I was in New York when that stuff happened or whatever. So,
but you weren't your house wasn't in danger?
It got a little scary there.
Well, that's what I mean.
So we, definitely.
Did you load up?
Yep, load up. Had to get out of there.
You had a mandatory evacuation?
Oh yeah.
No shit.
Oh yeah. No, it was, but it was like, I saw this. The flames never got close enough, but like, you knew they were coming, and it was just kind of like this. Yeah, and it was like, it's just, I feel very like. Fortunate. So that survivor's guilt.
Yeah, I got a little of that. I freaked out. And,
like, wait, where does the benefit start?
Yeah.
With this many friggin' people?
What, you mean insurance?
No, I mean just as far as like for helping people out. Yeah, insurance company. And that's the thing I was talking about on Kimmel is how they always keep it on the homeless people, all the immigrants. What about the insurance companies that aren't going to pay anybody a dime and still give themselves a bonus? What about those guys?
It's going to be.
What about all these landlords that are now a 2-bedroom in Pasadena is $9,000 a month?
Bastards.
What about these hotels that was $89 and it went up to like $700?
Yeah.
And I met this guy at the In-N-Out was saying like, yeah, my landlord's trying to evict me.
Yeah, really?
Because there's all that Palisades money and they don't have any. So now these areas that were working class, they're trying to get that money. I think that they're trying to do that.
But that's sort of like that shock doctrine capitalism business. Like, I don't know who's going to rebuild in the Palisades, but, if a developer comes in there and offers enough money to buy out all that property, they'll probably take it.
Oh, yeah. Well, how about the fact that banks won't even freeze it for 2 months? Like, you have to keep paying your mortgage, even though your house burned down. They won't even give you like hey, you're going through a difficult time. You're a fellow American. You have to keep paying that thing, plus getting gouged by these landlords and in hotels. Yeah. It's ridiculous. And I get that. This is why I don't watch politics. Politicians are grossly underpaid. Their job is to give you and me somebody to blame and get mad at, and then their job is they stand there and they get yelled at, and then all the people that they're really working for, you can't make $200,000 a year and your portfolio is worth $60 million. That just doesn't work that way.
You just become a money laundering operation for big business, and also like the idea was that you try to make government work for people or protect people, and then there's one side that just wants none of that. They just privatize everything.
Can I tell you something? One of the dumbest theories out there is this form of government works better than that form of government. They're all corrupt. They're all corrupt.
It will be.
Communism, capitalism.
They never seem to make room for, they never seem to acknowledge the potential for greed. You know what I mean? Like, it's a great idea.
It's funny.
But if somebody gets in there, they're like, I got an angle.
Yeah.
We can run money through this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did a gig in Finland one time, and they had like socialism where they had over there. Yeah. And they go, yeah, we don't have any rich people in our country. And I said, really? I go, do you have banks? And they said, yeah. And I just laughed.
Somebody's making money.
Do you have sociopaths here?
Yeah.
Then somebody's with the deal.
There's plenty of sociopaths. But
you can call it whatever you want.
But when you were in that moment, though, because when I decided I was going to freak out and leave, like I did it voluntarily. Because I couldn't read my app right. Like, I saw the red section, and it was right over there on the 2. And I'm down, it's 7 in the morning. I got a guy coming to paint because my kitchen had a leak in it. And we're standing out there. My neighbor comes out, and I'm like, what are you guys going to do? It feels like it's close. And it's like, yeah, but I don't think it's that close. And then we just saw this black cloud come over the whole neighborhood. And the painter goes, you better get out of here. So I got to load up these 3 cats. I got 1 crate. I'm putting 1 in a hamper. I got taped 1 in a box. Yep. And I go to Hollywood to the Hampton Inn, and I figure I'm good. I get them all in. I buy other crates. And then that catches on fire. I watched it catch on fire. I could see it, the one by the Comedy Store.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
I could see it blow up. And I'm like, now I got to move again. But nonetheless, I found that in that moment, like, I can focus. Like, you talk about calm. It's not that I don't respond to big things, but I'm always happy that, no matter how panicky or nuts I am, that when it hits the fan, I can show up and do it.
Yeah. Well, burning to death is pretty good motivation to get the out of there.
Yeah. I'm glad I didn't panic and be like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, which way do I go? Yeah, you don't want to be the guy himself.
How'd you decide what to load up?
It was very quick.
Oh, really?
I don't care about stuff.
Yeah, me neither.
You know what I did? I took my pilot's license and my logbook, and then my
passport
and my laptop, and then
cash.
No, I just grabbed. I'm not a gangster. I don't have like cash in the walls or anything. And we just, we spent some time with some friends in the valley, and then we went out to the desert. And I just thought after a couple, 2-3 days, it was going to be over. And it's just like, but this is the one thing I do is I don't watch the news at all.
Yeah,
because I'm already crazy enough. I don't need these people, like the job, CNN, Fox News, all they do is just stir people up and get.
That's right.
Then they get their own countrymen fighting.
Yeah,
I think they should all be in jail for treason.
Yeah.
Because if you make money by dividing Americans, these nerds who own these apps, who just have bots on there, just making everything political to get people to argue, but no one. It's with those guys. So what I'm trying to do is to get the message out there, guys. We're all on the same team here.
Yeah,
we need to respect each other, and we got to stop. We got to help each other.
Yeah, I noticed that message. I've watched a lot of your stand up, and I know you fairly well. We've had our moments.
Mark, I think we've both had our moments with everyone. Goes without saying.
I know, but you have, but
people just assume that I don't want to talk to him. Do you know what I mean? They're like, he's intense. You know what I mean?
Right.
So they stay away from me for that way. I think that it's like, yeah, it's going to come.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, you might get a little defensive pretty quickly and get angry about something.
As opposed to you? Did you just put me higher up on the hill of psycho?
A little.
Yeah, all right. Well, I'll let you. I understand how you're wired. You're on the narcissist spectrum. I'll give you that.
Are you?
No, I am on the low self-esteem.
I got that. I don't know if I'm narcissistic. I'm just selfish.
Crushing need to be liked.
Oh.
So I don't have that thing where I like just, I mean, the farthest I'll go is if somebody cuts me off in traffic.
Yeah.
I'll get in a few fights with somebody, but I would never like. Whatever, you have an acting gig and treat a PA like.
No,
I would
don't
never.
do that.
I would never do like.
Never.
I'm not like that. So,
like I've had to tell people in my life, where like and maybe you've had this too, where it's like I'm not yelling at you, I'm just yelling. Like I'll yell.
I used to be that guy. I don't do that. I know I'm yelling now. I do know I'm yelling,
but not at somebody.
Yeah, but I also. No, I also understand. No, and I've also gotten like, the people in my life now. I have like, I think I gravitated to some of the same kind of wired people, and it was just like, it was like junkyard dogs in a pit fighting over a pork chop. But like,
you can't.
But hanging out with guys like Dean Del Rey. Dean's like a total chill guy.
Totally chill.
So he's like one of the great people that I've met in this business.
Yeah,
a great friend of mine, and like I've.
It's good to hang around Dean when you're like us. Because he'll just level it off. Just keeps it level.
Well, I mean, I've never had an argument with
exactly.
That guy.
No,
but I have like, I got a good group of people that like it's like, oh, this can be easy.
Yeah.
This doesn't have to be like, hey, bro, sorry about the other day, like once a month or whatever. So, and a lot of that obviously I was bringing to the table. So
I was pretty impressed during the last fight we got into. Over whatever it was in the green room.
Dude, I've had so many fights with you, and I don't remember what any of them are about.
No, I kind of knew what that was about, but there was a couple things I remember about it, though.
Oh, the last one? I do remember the last one.
Yeah,
you were trying to get a freebie in, and then you tried to act like you weren't. You came walking in, and you go, ugh. I could hear your voice from down the hall, and I could smell your bitterness. And you go, hey man, I'm just around. I'm like, no, you weren't. You're in a bad mood, and I was the first guy you heard, and now you're being a...
No, this was a different thing. It was over a topic. It was over due process, and we were in the...
Yeah, well, the cancel culture was going on.
Right. We were in the green room, and Jeslyn, there's a couple other people there, and you go off on me, and all I remember is like, I'm going to have to just take this. I'm going to have to stand. I can't walk away from it. I'm going to have to hold my ground and wait till this passes. And you go, and then I go. But the thing I noticed was, within 3 minutes, you were like, maybe I should be on the women's side once in a while. Like, the distance between outburst and apology was tight.
I was proud of both of us. I thought we got over quickly.
Wait, pretty good, yeah.
No, we're in a good place. And I know another one, because of the way we're wired, is coming. But I don't take it seriously. Like, you could literally say the most up thing you could possibly say to me, and I'm going to be like, the next time I see him, he's going to be like, hey, man.
Right. Well, I get that too. Yeah.
I don't get.
But I don't rage anymore, and I guess because I remember like I don't remember.
Dude, you just ripped a drawer out of your cabinet. You know what it is about
no one was
like,
around. No one witnessed it.
No,
just if it's
what it is probably if you're like me.
Yeah.
What you saw growing up, you're not anywhere near, so you think you're not crazy. But it's like your definition of crazy is so beyond regular people's. So that tends to happen.
Yeah. I think it's that it's all you can't get away from what you grew up in. But I remember I don't remember, when was that last? When did you have that revelation? Like, I haven't talked to you in a long time in a long form conversation. When I remember you did mushrooms once.
Yeah.
And you had like in a week or so after, you're like, oh man, you had it all figured out for a minute. You saw some.
That's the honeymoon phase. But then what happens is after that, then like that happened, you still happen to you.
Yeah.
So it becomes, Then it's this weird thing.
You can see it, but you can't necessarily.
Yes. So then the anger comes back more so.
Oh.
But then you that's like the work. You kind of got to work your way through it. There's a buddy of mine. who got sober was talking about that, how he gets sober and like the first day he goes, dude, I felt like I was walking on a cloud, waking up, all this energy. And then all of a sudden they were out and about, and there was some guy looking, and he said, what the f*** are you looking at? Da-da-da-da. And his sponsor was like, oh, whoa, whoa. And then his sponsor goes to him, all right, the honeymoon part is over. Here comes the work.
That's right. Well, there's a funny...
that's where I am. That's where he was with his sobriety and after the 10 days.
What was there an event that tipped it?
Tipped what?
You into like saying I got to do the work?
Yeah, it was because post like the first mushrooms I took, I figured out so much about myself, or figured out the main, I guess, issue.
Yeah.
And I felt for 10 days.
Was that the sadness thing?
Yeah. What that was.
What was it?
Well, it was how I felt growing up.
Just constantly terrified.
Yeah, not loved, not feeling like that you mattered.
Yeah.
And but I always thought when I was a kid, I was like, oh, I didn't need that. I was tough, and I used to laugh at families that were like the other way. But like, I mean, because it wasn't like necessarily my family; it was the whole thing. Everybody's family was kind of like that.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so after like the 10 days, for 10 days, I felt like, oh, this is who I would have been if all of this didn't happen to me. And then after 10 days, it's like, oh, but it did. And it was like, oh, I could have been like this.
Yeah.
But now I'm like this. And it's just like, and then you just start thinking like, at different events, like, how could you do that to a kid?
Right.
Why would you, whatever. I don't want to get into it, but like.
But you saw the parallel universe where you're having a healthy life?
Yeah, not in show business, not needing to get on a stage being, hey, look at me. And I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't know where that goes. But then, so then I will say every time I feel like, okay, I've dug it all out and now we can start building a new house. I find there's another level or area or what. I mean, it's a lot of, it was 50 years. Dude, look, it's bad enough as it is for me. It's worse for the people around me. So that was really the motivation, because I love my wife to death. I obviously love my kids to death. And like, the one thing I am proud of is my kids are not afraid of me. I've probably overcorrected, but I come home, they treat me like a bouncy house. So they're just jumping all over me and everything. And we have all these games that I play. Most of them just involve me chasing them around the house.
Yeah. How old are they?
About to be 8 and 4.5.
Wow.
So, my daughter's to the point now where she reads to me. She reads me Captain Underpants, a chapter of Captain Underpants. What I love is she loves jokes.
Yeah.
And how they write that book. The chapter ends, with a setup, and then the name of the next chapter is the punchline.
Right.
So, like, the guy would be like going, no, we covered our tracks. There's no way we're going to get busted. Chapter 8, busted. And she just thinks, in her 7-8-year-old brain, that's so. And then she read it like 5 times and be like, busted. And she'd make like this face when she did it. And she was totally getting into it. And, my son's like really into music, like loves AC/DC and stuff.
Oh,
so.
You showed me that video.
Oh, yeah.
It's the best.
Him doing the Chuck Berry via Angus dance. Yeah, he can do the duck walk. It's amazing.
The one thing, though, when I was watching the special, I realized, like, you and I are similar, but, like, in a lot of ways. But you went and had a regular life in the way that, you got a wife, you got kids, and now, like, I didn't even pull it together to be able to handle that. And when you talk about that sadness at being at the core of the anger for how you grew up, I mean, I relate to that. But one thing that you seem to have gotten over, or at least have some range in your life, is that, like, for me, and like you say, you want to be loved, and we do this thing in a room full of strangers. But, like, I don't trust love. I don't trust it. If somebody loves me, I'm like, you're with me. I can't let go. And it's a nightmare. So that's...
I know where that comes from.
What's that? Because my parents were like needy, exploitive people. Why? What do you think?
No, well, Jesus Christ. I'm on your side. Jesus Christ, Mark.
That's where we get touchy. We're like, what's your issue?
How are you going to hurt me?
Yeah, exactly. But you know that one.
No, you showed me a picture of your mom one time.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, wow, she's beautiful. And you just made some sort of comment like, oh, yeah, she made sure she got all dolled up. It's all about her. And I said, my God, child of a narcissist.
Yes, too, yeah.
Two.
Yeah.
How does that relationship work? There's usually one person just getting abused.
Well,
waiting for the storm to be over, and it never does until they die.
No, they're both selfish enough to kind of float in their own zones and then just react to each other and then go back into their own little world. But now, like, my old man's got dementia, and there's a point. Like, I remember when we did that Comics Come Home thing, you know, and there's always that moment where your folks were there, and you're like, "This is my dad." I'm like, "That's the guy." Like, I'm thinking, "That's the guy," and then you realize, like, "God, they're just old now."
You know, but like how I look at them, I'm like, whatever happened to them was worse than what. The same way you don't feel like you're yelling, but you are to somebody else.
Yeah.
They felt like, you know, what they were doing was the right thing to do because they improved it from what happened to them. So then I improve it from them. And, you know.
Was this empathy always within you, though, or is this part of the new you?
No, it's like it's trying to put you to bed. Because what I have realized is that when you go back to your childhood, there's your version and your parents' version, and the truth is in the middle.
Yeah.
Because, you know, what parents don't understand, a lot of them seem to forget, I think, is that how small a kid's universe is.
Yeah.
So if they're literally going, "I don't like this shirt," before they go to school, I go, "Change your shirt."
Yeah.
Because I don't want you going to school feeling bad about yourself because these other kids will smell that on you, and next thing you know, you're getting bullied.
Yeah.
And like when you're 5, 6 years old, liking the shirt you're wearing to school is your universe. As an adult, seeing these fires and insurance and, you know, and never-ending wars, that's nothing to you. But you have to remember to value that it is. But, you know, that information, I know that because it's out there now. So, like, my parents didn't have that information. Their generation didn't have that information. So that's why when you go back, "Hey, man, you did this, you did that," they go, "Oh, that was no big deal." It's like, to you it wasn't. So one of the hardest, I think, human emotions probably is empathy.
Yeah.
So that's a difficult thing to do, and I think a lot of people, you know, I've been guilty of it, like, just don't get there. So you got to be like, you know, that's a big thing with like a relationship, is getting out of your ego and not trying to win the thing.
Yeah.
Trying to actually hear, you know, what the person you're with is saying and how you ended up getting there, and just acknowledge how whatever you're doing makes them feel, rather than being like, "Oh, that's not," you know.
Yeah.
I got a friend of mine.
Yeah. Well, you know, like when you rage and then like 10 minutes later, everyone's crying, but you're like, I'm okay. Everybody, what's the matter? We got through it.
Yeah, oh, that wasn't that bad. And then you do the worst thing. You say that wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
And that really comes from the fact that you love them. You don't want to feel like you hurt them. So you're like, "You're fine. Come on.
Yeah.
It wasn't that bad. Come on, let's get an ice cream.
Yeah.
Shake it off." You know, you start doing that great Santini. Yeah. So like a lot of this. So there's a lot of this new special and everything is just, you know, it's, if you really watch my specials along, I was, you know, it's not like, this isn't like a sitcom. I didn't get here and like, you know, one mushroom trip into. This has been something that is, you know, I've been working on since I first started doing specials. I never wanted to be a lot of the stuff that I was. I didn't want to be that guy. I just didn't. It's like that was the guy I became and how I had to be. So, you know, wouldn't keep happening to me.
Well, I think it's funny because like you're a guy. The thing that, well, don't take this wrong. I mean, your saving grace is your struggle with yourself,
right?
Do you know what I mean? Like you were always, you knew, and I knew, and everyone else knew. It's like, well, Bill's, you know, he's a good guy in there, and he knows that. But there's
fighting himself. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and it's like that. That's the whole thing. Like, who's going to win the match?
Yeah, and the thing is, I think when people watch, that's if there's something relatable about what I do. You know, like one of my favorite like head coaches right now in the NFL is this guy Nick. Is it Sirianni, the guy for the Eagles?
Yeah,
because I see that guy.
Yeah.
Where I'm just like, this guy is really good at what he does.
Yeah.
And he knows he is, but there's a part of him in that brain is saying, "No, you're not." And it's just like, and fighting that thing and having to do that.
Yeah.
As an NFL coach with all these other cunts who don't know anything about football, questioning everything you're doing. It's a very like stand-up comedy experience where like getting heckled from the crowd or, you know, people like online. I like when they take your jokes and they put them on and they rename them and make you say what they want you to be saying. Like there's a lot of that.
Oh, yeah.
That
Some people started all kinds of with me and Kreischer by, you know, taking something I said out of context and saying it was about him. It wasn't even about him. And we had to work that out. Nightmare. Like, out of all the people in the world, how does anyone start with Bert Kreischer?
Listen, what do you mean? He's a comedian. It happens. Everything happens.
I wasn't even talking. It doesn't matter.
Dude, we're all followed our dream and it came true and we're still working out. It's funny as hell. How do any of us, we tell jokes for a living. How are any of us upset?
Yeah.
Because it's not a fix.
Yeah, but I never got. But did you like you talk about the arc of your specials? All I ever did with comedy, all I ever wanted to do, and I've said this before. I don't know that I got into it thinking like I want to entertain people. I just knew that I could have my own space to say what I wanted to say, and it was mine.
All right, I got into it because I thought it was an easy way to make a bunch of people I didn't know like me, so they wouldn't get mad at me and no one would try to hurt me.
Really?
It was a combination of that and then being so walled off that I needed like a place somewhere to like a moat. Kind of.
Well, yeah, that's taking a risk. That's not necessarily get everyone to like you, because when I do it, I guess I want them to like me, but there's part of me that's sort of like, how I don't like me, so go for yourself. How can you like me?
Yeah, I don't have that.
No, you don't push back. But you like to with them a little bit. You like to test them.
No, I'd like to do that, but like I don't like get upset if they like me. Oh. Like I want them to like me.
No,
I want them to like me, and then I also want them to feel like they got their money's worth. I don't want to be just going up there and dumping my day on them or whatever. So,
I did. Like sometimes if I don't have a show that I think is good, I'll just go really long, and then at least they can't leave saying they didn't try.
They're not enjoying me. I go, I know the solution. More of me.
Yeah, more of me. Because then they're not going to walk out and say, like, why didn't he finish?
Yeah. No, I don't know. Like
that doesn't happen that much. That's behind me. Yeah, I don't. You know what I mean? I don't. I did. Here, let me tell you this. I was in.
I'm just going to let you go, man. Come on, work this. Go on.
I was in. I don't know what
that hasn't happened in a long time. Last night.
What happened was I was in Napa and I do this show. I get one woman who's sitting in the middle of the front section at the theater, and she really wants to give me a present. She brought something for me. She didn't know she's going to get it to me after. So in the middle of the show, she's like, "I love you. I have a gift for you." And it's taking time, and I'm like, "All right, can we?" And she's like, "Can I just?" And like it was good natured. She had knitted me a cat thing, and she bought me a little thing or whatever. Right?
Oh boy! But
then the rest of the audience is like, "Hey, come on!" And I'm like, "This is not a bad situation. This is not a bad person."
Oh, good. I thought you were gonna.
No. I'm like, we just just hang out. I'll get back to the show. Let her do the thing, and I'll take the present. Thank you. And then some other woman was up in the balcony. It's like, yeah, like yelling like this, and I'm like, what the f is this now? So that's a whole different thing. So I go from like managing the nice lady. Just being like, are you going to shut the f up or what? Like, because I can have you taken out. I don't have to deal with this. If people want to show. And it keeps happening. And eventually I'm like, what do you, and then it's being handled. And
Which person? The upper deck person?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So that all happens. And then you got to get back to you, because you just showed the audience what a monster you are by dealing with the heckler.
I think you're being too hard on yourself.
No. So today I get a fucking DM from somebody who was sitting near the woman up top who was drunk, I thought, and yelling. And she says, "Look, I don't know really what happened, but I was sitting next to these people, and it seemed like she was a neurodivergent person who couldn't control it." Like, so now I'm like, this is all sitting on me. I call this
neurodivergent,
spectrum person who was with somebody who was taking care of her. I wanted to see the show, but couldn't control her emotions, but I don't know what to do with that. I handled it the way I'm supposed to handle it, but now I think I on some person that has major emotional problems.
No, that's on the person that brought them.
I think so.
If they have like that issue, you shouldn't bring them to a comedy show.
Yeah.
I'm not saying put them in the attic like the Kennedys.
No, I know, but I came to the same conclusion. But you can't win, and anybody can communicate with you if they.
You didn't know. The person who brought the person didn't know. The person doing it didn't know. It was just It was a big misunderstanding.
So when you talk about like that thing you said on Kimmel last night about how like what you're mad about is something much bigger that you think is going to like consume you if you take it on. Mm-hmm. Do you feel that? Do you know what that is though, right? Mostly, what that thing is? Is it just your family?
Sure. It's also the powerless feeling of being a kid if you're not being listened to.
Yeah.
And that's what ends up happening is if you're not being listened to and bad happening to you and stuff, you just eventually that's kind of how you stop emoting because no one's listening, and then you also shut down stuff because stuff is hurting you.
Yeah.
So then you just sort of become like you get the 600-yard stare, the kid version of it. And that was a lot of my friends. A lot of my friends are like that, and it's kind of funny.
It's a neighborhood thing almost.
Well, I mean, I go around and I do shows, and my whole graduation class, like everybody has really interesting jobs, and really cool to see them again. And I run into a lot of them, and there's a couple people where like, you start having like family envy when you feel yours is a little weird, and then I end up finding like, wow, it was very similar, or it was like, oh, it was a little different, or it was worse, or whatever. So, but that's one of those things where, so it's not like fair to my parents or anybody else who was bringing me up or something. It's not going to be my parents, but it's just like they were my universe. So like the importance of things, like when your kid comes up to me like going, hey, Dad, you said you were going to play with me, and you're staring at your phone. It's like, that's a big deal. And you got to go put it down, like, man, like this is making this person feel like you're not worth my time.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Good you're catching all this now. Because, like, I took a different approach in jokes with my parents. Like, I used to do that bit about, like, when your parents say we did the best we could. Mm-hmm. And so they didn't. They didn't know what they were doing, and you don't have to take that. You didn't do the best you could. I can accept that, but you didn't even try, really.
Yeah, I mean, well, look, each situation is unique. So, but I've interacted with you enough to know that they didn't try.
They left me untethered.
I think that's why you're a cat person.
I grew up with dogs. I got dogs.
I think a dog would be too needy and consuming, and like you probably grew up isolated, and you vibe with cats, where it's kind of like, hey man, sometimes I want to be on top of you, other times I just want to get the out of here.
That's right.
Go kill something.
We had a lot of dogs. I grew up with a lot of dogs, and it's just the same reason I don't have kids. I don't trust my emotional construct not to be selfish and feel that like.
Hey, more people should do that.
Yeah.
Like, because a lot of people just have a kid because they think they should be doing it. And you really have to want to do it, and you have to love the job.
Yeah.
And you have to want to help try to form a empathetic adult on the other side is what you're hoping to come out with. But like, I listen to my kids though. Like when they're upset, like everything stops and I sit down and I listen to them, even if I don't agree with them, being like, well, you can't do that. You can't have every toy or whatever they're doing. Yeah. And then there's other times it's like, all right, you're right. I shouldn't have done that. Like I remember like when I knew I was changing it, my daughter was only 3. She was so cute, maybe even less than that.
Yeah.
And she came up to me. There was something that was bothering her, and I sat down on the stairs. I said, what's bothering you? And she walked up to me, and us spontaneously, not even thinking, we both held hands while she talked to me.
Yeah.
And I was like, that never happened. When I was growing up. That never happened to anybody in my generation. Maybe Italians. Italians are really good with, like, emotion. Like, I always got along with the Italians because I was just like, these people, like, as much as they're yelling at each other, I hear love in there.
Yeah.
Where, like, my Aryan Northern European is just
what
like...
What do you think? It's just Irish Catholic?
Dude, I'm German.
Yeah.
I am a gumbo of shutdown nationalities. Irish, Scottish, English, German, mostly German, French, and Dutch. And, like, as much as I love French culture and everything, there is... I can't tell because maybe it's just Paris or whatever.
Yeah.
It sort of has that Manhattan coldness to it. Like career, then kids.
Yeah.
Well, and no God.
Yeah.
The Manhattan vibe.
Yeah. But it's good that you can identify in that moment when you're holding hands and that you can, be present for the love from her and you. And, it's good as opposed to like.
No, and I say that. I said, absolutely. You know what I mean? And like, and then you start having more than one. And they have like disagreements. You become like Judge Wapner.
Yeah.
You got to make sure that you're not favoring either one of them or anything. Like I make sure, I do that. Like my son does something. Oh, it's great. And I'll ask my daughter, did you teach him how to do that? That's amazing. Like I make sure.
Balance it.
Yeah. I make sure I balance it. Yeah.
Now, did you go to therapy?
Yeah, I did.
Was it helpful?
Yeah, I mean, to kind of crack it open or whatever, but like, I kind of feel like it's almost like doing stand-up, where you can rehearse as much as you want in your room. You have to go out and do it in front of people.
That's
so
right.
I feel like therapy, you can go there and talk about your problems forever.
Yeah.
It's like...
And just spin them. Like it just becomes a habit.
Oh, I got sick of telling the stories.
right.
And I was just like, I just need to go live my life. I've learned enough here.
Yeah.
It definitely served a purpose. But then I needed to go out, and I think mushrooms was a huge thing. That was like
How many times you do it?
Fast forward button. Only 4 times. Oh, it's the only drug I've ever done that never makes me feel the next day like I want to do that again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then it becomes like a habit.
Was it like a prescribed thing, or you just did it?
I just did it.
By yourself?
Nope. I was with my wife and my brother and my sister-in-law, and we were out in the desert.
Ah.
Yeah. And then another time I took them, I was with my wife in the middle of Utah.
Ah. During the day.
I took them during the day,
That's so t-
and
that's good.
I took them, and right after I ate, my wife's going like, because she took them with, and then she's not into them.
Yeah.
She goes, I don't want to do it. I said, well, I'm doing it.
yeah.
She goes, don't do it. I go, I'm doing it, and I just ate a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
And then, dude, I ate them, and 20 minutes later, I got a text. You got to call me. I know you're on vacation. You got to call me. And oh God, dude, my my buddy, told me Bob Saget died.
Oh my God.
And then the mushrooms were coming on. Oh my, it was wild.
Where'd you end up going in your head?
I still had a good one, but
Yeah.
the weirdest thing was when I would think about Bob, like the room went like gray, like black and white, like a funeral or something. It was wild. Because I took a lot, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, the ground was going, going in and out, and I was talking to trees. I mean, I was tripping.
Yeah.
And yeah, dude, I thought I saw this guy way up on the hill, and he said hello to me.
Yeah.
He was way up on this cliff, and I realized like the next day it was the neighbor. It was like this vacation thing, and he wasn't way up on the hill. He was like right where you were, but my depth perception. So I was just like staring at him.
Wow.
It was so weird. A lot of this, but like,
But you were
what
able
did I say? Oh, and then that was the thing. And then I asked my wife. I said, "Can you go outside?" I go, "Is there a little guy on the cliff?" Walking, saying hello to people. And she's just laughing. She walked out. She goes, there's nobody out there, but the guy had left.
Yeah.
So then I went back outside or whatever. And then I started thinking about it. Like towards the end of my trip, I came walking and I said, hey, can I ask you a question? I go, this was the sad part of the trip. I said, was that little guy real? And she said, no. I said, okay, good. And I go, well, what about that text message about Bob? Was that real? And she was like, yeah, it was. And I was like, because I was kind of hoping for half a second that maybe I dreamt it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know why you would dream that, but I was hoping that it wasn't the case. But that was
that one really got me, man.
Ugh, that was brutal.
Because you talk about that in the special too, about we're at that weird zone of age. It's a very good observation, that one. It's funny.
I'll never be over Bob. I've made that peace that I won't be.
Yeah, I don't think I will too, and it's not like I was totally close to him, but we're all weirdly close just by nature of who we are and what we do. But like, he was always the best guy in the world, and it was such a shocking thing.
You know what I loved about him? He just loved jokes.
Yeah.
So if you started texting with him, I swear to God, if he wanted to go 8 hours, he would just keep going. Like
doing jokes?
He never got sick of it. And then he would always go crazier and darker.
Yeah,
and I always just thought it was so fascinating that he was such a nice guy, but he could go just so twisted and dark.
Yeah.
But it kind of worked because he was like just such like a nice guy. And, and whenever I would do something on TV, if he saw it or whatever, he always took the time to say, great job. And it was like sincere. It wasn't like, hey, you're moving along in the business. This is a guy I need to know. It wasn't. It was
sweet guy.
Yeah. So
it's so weird because did anyone ever figure out what happened?
I don't want to speculate or anything, but the stuff that I heard was I think that
he hit his head.
He hit his head and had a bleed, and he went to bed. He didn't realize how bad it was.
Well, you want to know something? I don't think it's bad, but like, I'll tell you, man, we go into all of these different hotels, but after Saget died, I turned the light on in the bathroom because, you get up and you don't know where you are for a second.
Oh, yeah.
Some of these places got those marble floors and and I'm old. Right. So now, anywhere I go, I just got to make sure.
Well, the big thing too is you're alone.
Yeah.
And then you hit your head and you have to make a decision.
Right. How the hell is he going to know he hit his head? I'm going to lie down for a minute. He doesn't know how bad you hit it. But
Dude, that one was like that, Patrice, like some of the Greg Giraldo. I mean, I've lost a lot of people.
yeah, it was those same people.
Awful.
Yeah, but you knew what happened with those guys.
I know, but it didn't make it any easier.
No,
Greg was
horrendous.
Giraldo was the one that made me believe in addiction.
Oh, dude,
And I was just like, to see it take a guy
that smart
that smart
and that good and that sweet guy
and that alive.
Yeah, like he couldn't stop it.
That was literally like because I remember like the first time hearing him about him having an issue.
Yeah.
I thought like, oh come on, man, was he having a midlife crisis? Like I just didn't believe that addiction was strong enough to take a guy
like that.
That
sharp.
And like who the hell? I think Vinny Brand called me when.
Oh, he died out there, right in Princeton or where? What is it? New Brunswick.
Yeah, that was a brutal one.
Yeah, I mean,
it's bad enough he died, but to have your last set at the Stress Factory
in that hotel.
I'm with you, Vinny, if you're listening.
No, but I remember.
Why'd you have to say that? I mean, people are going to take that seriously.
He still got the phone on stage.
Oh my God,
Did you get that payphone?
Oh my God, Patrice's life work was trying to get him to get that payphone. He would say, Vinny. First he trashed him, and then he had to try to logically go like, you are encouraging people to yell up at the stage.
Yeah.
What it was Vinny's a comedian and a club owner, and you can't write material fast enough every weekend.
Yeah.
So he needed a gimmick.
Right.
So he would do that, and it turned every crowd into like a bachelorette party there for a while.
Worse. And
then he stopped doing. When he stopped doing it, it became this great club.
And he used to run those like car crash videos. Like, do you remember, like, before the show, the videos? It was just like, I don't even remember, but I just remember it was, like, crazy. But the thing I was going to say is I had talked to Giraldo because I told him, I said, when I got divorced from Mishna, she had gotten me sober. And I was sort of, I told him I was framing it like...
She was just like, what did I do?
Well, no, I told her, like, the divorce cost me a lot of money. And
she earned it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I have peace with that.
She's a sweetheart.
I was able to see my side of that because you get stubborn, you get competitive.
Yeah.
You're like, it's this and that. But I realized, like, years later, like, it's okay, the money and whatever. But I told Giraldo how much it cost, versus the fact that, she got me sober. I said, I have to look at it like this is the price of my sobriety because you got off easy. I've been through like that guy tried hundreds of thousands of dollars in rehabs and, whatever. And he just couldn't get a handle on it. And I don't know if part of it was like he was a social guy too. Like he really liked, hanging out with losers, doing drugs?
No, not that. You're talking about the end. That's where it ends.
Yeah.
And then if you get lucky, no, I just feel like, I toured with him a couple of those, Just for Laughs thing, me and him, Tom Papa, and just the hangs were amazing. And, he was clean when I was touring with him, but he was saying, he goes, don't you just want to go up to that bar, have drinks and talk to some chicks? And it's just like, he just was a fun guy. And we were kind of going through this business the same way where it was like, there was a period of time, any place I went on the road, he is either just there or was on his way to being there.
Yeah.
And we would always get the same feedback, like, one of the Quad Cities or something, wherever the hell we were getting booked back then. And, Duluth or something, they would just be like, dude, you're like one of the funniest comics that's come through here in years. And like, we would laugh about that going like, if somehow these regular people were the industry, we would have something going on in our careers. So we used to joke that, we used to call it killing in obscurity.
Yeah.
So you'd be going out there and it was, and you keep coming back to these clubs and the same 30, 40 people were showing up. And then also the whole alt scene exploded in the 2000s, and I was sitting there as a club comic. Like, there was a part of me going, like, am I playing disco? Like, what the is music changed? And I'm out here like, ba ba da ba ba ba. You know what I mean?
And they're at some coffee shop.
So I was going like, I still remember where I was, where I had that one time I ever had that thought, which is the scariest thought ever. I'm like, wait, am I the guy who doesn't make it?
Yeah, we're out. What I do is old timey.
Yeah.
Where was it?
It was at the Funny Bone in St. Louis, Westport, or whatever they called it. Funny Bone in Westport or whatever. It was like one of my favorite gigs because the staff at the Funny Bone was fun.
Yeah.
And I was still drinking. It wasn't out of control then, so
Yeah.
I would go out and have some pops or whatever. And but I used to just mainly talk about sports, and so I would be asking him, Ozzie Smith, did you see him at the old Busch Stadium?
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah.
well, actually, one time with the staff, I went to the first one they had that the St. Louis Cardinals football team played in. And to me, like, when I went on the road, like, those places were like cathedrals. I used to see it every week. Mel Allen on This Week in Baseball.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 and, like, Ozzie Smith would come out doing the backflip.
Yeah.
And, the Kingdome with Ken Griffey Jr. later. All of that stuff, like, I was iconic to me. So I got to go to a lot of those old stadiums and old ballparks. They're all gone now. County Stadium, Busch Stadium.
Gone?
The Kingdome. Yeah, all these owners, for some reason the cities had to, they're all billionaires, but for some reason, we're buying all their merch and rooting for the teams and buying the booze and all of that, but we also have to pay for the stadiums. It's kind of a great gig.
Yeah.
That's why I like Bob Kraft. Like, he paid for the Patriots Stadium.
Yeah. So you had the realization that alternative comedy might take over when you were in St. Louis?
No, I felt like what I was doing was still vibrant in St. Louis, but where it air quote mattered in New York and LA, like, oh dude, like, do you remember like the height of that alt, like, all of a sudden,
in it.
Well, all of a sudden, no, you were the guys who kind of started, the first comics that started. That's what always killed me.
We were club guys.
You were club guys that created the alt thing because it got stale, which it did. And then it created this scene where you could start in the alt room, rather than doing all those hell gigs that we did. To season yourself, to understand that you could literally start your career doing a 20-minute bit about the Transformers,
and now you just have to post a reel. That whole sort of like come up, open, middle, close thing, done. It's over.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just everything is just different. But and what they were saying when we were coming up, like, I used to have to go on in between a stripper and a guy playing a ukulele. We had clubs, so there's always changing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like I love how old people are. Oh man, you missed it. It's like they're not missing anything.
Yeah,
they're going to look back in the 2020s and tell people in the 2040s that they missed it because you're young.
Don't you remember?
That's what it is.
In Boston, after the happy hours closed down and all those guitar acts came in, and you'd have to feature for a guitar act, and they were the big headliner, and it was sort of like, what am I doing? But how bad's your drinking get?
It definitely got to the point where I wanted to not be doing it, and I was still doing it. What it was for me was the tipping point for me was I brought it into the house. And then once I had it in the house and I could have it every night.
Yeah, then you saw it.
Then it was a lot. That's how my cigar smoking. As long as I don't have cigars in the house, like, I don't have.
They always end up at the store with me grabbing them out of the box.
Yeah, well, I don't have that now. Where I don't have that when, like, I'm somewhere on the spectrum of addiction, but I don't have that thing of, like, if it's not in the house, I'm so jonesing, like, I'll go out in my boxers and just go get it. I never had that. My is like, if it's not in the house, I won't. If it's in the house, I consume it. So I just have to be aware of what I have in, like, my day to day, because
the cigars turned on me. I don't like them anymore.
Oh, yeah?
I don't know what happened. Well, I'm doing these zins. I'm getting nicotine, but at some point I smoked a cigar and I'm like, it's not. It just didn't taste good anymore. And it was kind of good for that to happen. But, it'll
You're
come
probably
back
also, like,
what?
Smoking a lot of them, and then, you sort of get numb to it.
And you're expecting that same thing, that great thing. And then by the third one, it's not so good.
Oh my God, dude! Chain smoking cigars is not. No, I never did that. Like, I would have, like,
2 a day. Come on.
No, I was always a 1 a day guy. But there were times, like, if I was hanging with friends, like if I'm out on the golf course, I don't golf. There's nothing for me to do out there. I'm a redhead. It's sunny.
You don't golf?
I hate golf.
But you go hang out.
I go play. Well, it's funny. I bring my little Bose thing.
Yeah.
And the one that the album I always play is Paul Anka's one, where he did this incredible album.
Oh, the covers?
Of like
Nirvana and stuff?
Yes.
It's great, yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it is.
And the arrangements, like, he could have just gone like Captain Kirk and just been like all cheeky or whatever.
Joke, yeah.
He didn't.
He honored him.
he respected the music, and the arrangements are incredible.
Yeah.
So it's like everybody, you want to play like Sinatra. This is like the happy medium where it's just like, all right, it's our generation's music, but it's that old, Sinatra, Tony Bennett class.
It's kind of a great record.
Yeah.
I know that record. It's so funny that you're using, like, I used to do this. I was working on this bit about that every male is on the spectrum. There's a toxic spectrum of men. It kind of goes from like insensitive to murder.
Right. There's guys I see that aren't on it. There's definitely like one of my buddies that I hang out with. I always say that to him. I'm like, dude, like you're like what I'm trying to work towards. You're like, dude, he's just like this chill, cool guy. Like anybody, he has his problems or anything, but like I just noticed like when people meet him, like they're really drawn to him.
Yeah.
Like he's just this open guy where like, for the longest time in my life, people would meet me and they were just like, oh yeah, hey.
What do you attribute it to? Have you talked to him about it?
I haven't analyzed it too much. I just
like his growing up thing.
Yeah, I mean, however, like, well, there's probably your DNA or whatever, or how you came, whatever you came from, but like, it's how, whatever, maybe he processed his pain in a different way.
Or maybe his parents were just loving people that gave him the space to grow up with love.
Yeah, it could be that.
That's
I don't know.
Crazy.
I don't know, but like, I don't want to know if that's true or not, because if I find out that it isn't true, that that's actually a myth, then all my work is just out the window.
For naught.
Yeah, it's all this just a theory.
I was telling a story that you're in on stage about that night at that Comics Come Home thing that we did. I was so like, he put me on that thing, and I was like, great, it's full circle. I'm going to come back. I'm a pro. I remember like doing one of my first guest spots at Nick after Leary and just dying. I'm like, now I've got it all together. I'm seeing everyone who's on there, and he's reading the list of the order.
Uh-huh.
And he's going through everybody. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening? And he goes, all right, then Robert Kelly, then Maron, then Burr. And I'm like, God, now I got to go fight? I got to go, I'm drowning upon the intro.
But you know what's funny?
I did fine.
Everybody who gets that spot.
Yeah, but here's what I remember.
Dude, I saw Bobby did it this year. Bobby Kelly had to go on last. And he's like, dude, what the... And he's just going, I got to follow all you guys. And I'm looking at him like, dude, you think it's fun following you?
It's fucking nightmare.
It's not. Yeah, it's not. So, and then what happens?
He kills.
He went on after me, and it was within 2 seconds. It's like I didn't even go on stage. He murdered. Bobby Lee's like that. It's like, Bobby, nobody wants to go on after you. You kill.
Yeah.
You kill.
Well, that was the funny thing is I'm back. Once I figured out that I was told the order, I was like, God. And I'm between you and him. And I walked up to you. I said, why don't you go after Kelly? And you go, I don't want to go after fucking Kelly.
Oh, dude, I loved watching you twist in the wind. And then what was funny is you got off stage. I go, you opened with the proctology bit. And you're like, I had to. I was going on to Bobby. I go, yeah, but you had the bit. You had the bit. You weren't winging it, dude. So
the colonoscopy bit, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Look, dude, we all had our...
No, I
remember I went up one year. One comic, it was the first time Trump got elected, and this person went up on stage and so trashed Trump, half the crowd was booing. And then the next guy went up.
Was that Wanda?
Wanda, Nick, DiPaolo, and then me.
Oh, wow.
Dude, it was amazing.
Yeah.
It was one of my favorite nights of comedy. Wanda went up there, she went off on everybody like they all voted for Trump. It was fantastic. This is a comedian.
Yeah.
To watch somebody do that in an arena and not give a... So half the crowd's booing, and she's like, F you. I was just like, I already loved Wanda. I think I love her more.
Yeah.
And then Nick goes up there and just goes the other way. Oh, my God, dude. Oh, my God. Took it to another level of this crowd. And I remember Cam Neely comes down, and he's going, he's going, what the f*** is going on?
Yeah.
And I go up there, and I got to save the day. And what did I do? I went up there with a chunk of airplane material that I already had.
Yeah.
The most hacky ever.
Yeah.
That's what I did. I opened, I said, hey, how you guys doing? You guys want to talk politics? And they all laughed. And then I just did this airplane material. It was so funny. I get off stage after doing like the hackiest ever to bring everybody back. And they're all looking at me like, oh, my God, that was amazing. I go, that was amazing. That was like my evening at the Improv set from 88 before I even did comedy.
I will say, though, I went up there and I started pretty strong.
I knew you were going to be fine because this is the thing. Because he's only going to do 10. Whoever you're worried about is only going to do 10, 12 minutes.
Bob did he did like 15, 20. I think. But you remember that Pete David. Dude.
But it was funny this year to watch Bob freaking out. He was going like, dude, what the I got to go on after all you heavy hitters. And I'm just sitting there. I wish I said to him, I was like, Bob, do you understand every year someone's freaking out, they have to follow you? You do understand.
He doesn't.
That you level
but
this place.
I
remember do understand that, right?
The opening joke I did, though, was because Pete Davidson went up and it was weird. He did, it was a little weird. It was all about trying to get his mother. Remember, he said just trying to, his mom had since his dad died on 9/11, so he's been trying to have, get his mother to date. And then he did.
Sounds like a good premise to me.
Yeah, it was good. And then he does the joke. He ends sort of like, I might have to do it. It was funny. It was a little weird and dark, but he did fine. But he talked about it for the entire time. And I went on and I said, I like doing these things, hanging out with the comics, and it's not definite or anything, but I think I'm going to Pete Davidson's mom.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It worked. It got me in.
No,
dude.
but then also,
it got me in.
But the crowd loves that because then they can see the
camaraderie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I do find there are some guys, the guys who kill the hardest sometimes are because Bobby levels.
He's just hard on himself because he doesn't think he writes enough. Like, he knows he can kill, but he knows he's going to do that same 15 minutes, and I think that's what drives him nuts. It's like, I think maybe in his...
He's got all kinds of material.
But he's pretty hard on himself about generating material. And I think his mindset is like, he knows he can kill, but he knows he's just killing with, these certain bits. Like, I don't think he really thinks that he's going to bomb.
Well, I think everybody has, I'm in an arena set.
Yeah, I don't have one. I don't have one in the chamber. I don't do them enough. But yeah, you got to slow things down.
Yeah, listen. I saw the freak out.
Yeah. Where was that? Oh, at the thing. Yeah,
dude. I enjoyed doing my set and watching you freak out that night. And the harder Bobby was killing, the harder I was laughing
because of me.
You just kept walking out, just like, dude. The look on your face.
Yeah.
It was like, what was that? What was that? When the first time the stock market crashed, was it Black Friday?
Yeah.
You look like the guy that was going to jump off the. Out his window. And I was secretly rooting for Bobby to kill even harder.
Yeah. Well, thanks, buddy. It's nice.
Well, what else would we be doing? Do you know one of my favorite childish comedic moments?
What?
Comedy moments? We were doing the improv when it was at Harris.
Yeah.
And we were sitting in there, and the guy that was opening had some sort of prop, and we were teasing him about it. Yeah. And he came running in, and they were doing like his intro.
Yeah.
Remember that stupid da 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 da? Y'all ready for this?
Yeah.
So he comes running back with this panic look, looking for because it was like his opening joke. And he's like, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Neither one of us moved. We just sat there, and then he found it. And as he found it, I reached over with 2 fingers, and I closed the door. And me and the other guy he rips open the door and he came running out. We're actually listening to him out of breath doing his first show. Hey, thanks for coming down to the improv. Dude, it was the hardest. We laughed at his jokes all that week, but like, that's the that I like. So I love that, you go up,
the struggle.
Hey, I'm going to Pete's mom or
save it.
Yeah, whatever.
So what's going on with this? One other question about the psychological stuff is that like when you, and I'm just asking because I'm trying to,
you can shut up too, yes.
Yeah. When you make the decision to not react or not fight or take the hit, don't you just feel it in your chest? Like, oh, God, just, there's a decision, and then you got to ride out that kind of like.
I'll tell you the one that I am not able, I don't even know how to attack the problem. I have no clue how to do it. Is like that Google Map thing that happened to me on the way over.
Oh.
Where it's like I try it, and I go from like calm seas to tsunami.
Yeah.
But now I just immediately say after, like, dude, you didn't have to do that. What the f is wrong with you? Stop being crazy. Thank God nobody else was in the car.
Right.
Like, what is wrong with you? So that's as far as the solution has gone to. Now I still do it, and then I just say, I beat myself up. What the f is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Stop doing that. I don't need to react to these things. I say that out loud. And then the next thing happens, and it's literally like that moment and that realization never happened. So, but I've also know through, trying to figure myself out that like this is why most people don't figure themselves out, because you got to push through this part that's difficult.
Yes.
Because it's easy, because, once those grooves get worn in your brain, it's just automatic pilot. Something's bad. I'm going to rip a drawer out. I'm going to scream or throw my phone against the wall.
Yeah.
and then apologize afterward. That's how this is the movie. It's a play.
But it's
We're
good
not
that
rewriting.
you've got it down to just mostly like freaking out when you're alone.
No, I still freak out. Like there's just I got an acting gig coming up. I'm trying to memorize the lines in this one section.
Well, how's that going?
Well, we haven't started yet, so I'm trying to get off book before I get there, and I keep up this same part. So I'm with my wife last night, and she's reading me the lines. All the kids are in bed, and then I up this, and I was like, it's coming. But then I tripped up on a word. So she goes, oh, you got to do it with this. I'm like, all right. So then I go back, and then I forgot. And then she said the line that I forgot like 50 times in a row, and I just went like 7 times on the arm of the chair.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then my daughter came into the room, said, what happened? I said, oh, sorry. I was banging on the chair. And what's so funny is she just looks at me because she's always going like, Dad, it's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
I go, sorry, I lost my temper.
Yeah.
And she goes, all right. I go, I still love you. You know, Daddy has issues. And then she just looks at my wife and kind of laughs and then leaves. But like, so as much as, you know, I up in that moment, the saving thing that I'm trying to do is I address that, you know, what I just did had nothing to do with you.
Right.
I'm up. I'm sorry. That was wrong or whatever. So,
I didn't mean to scare you, that kind of stuff.
yeah. So my daughter actually, she kind of like looks at me in like a funny way. Like she kind of knows that I have like issues, but she does say funny things. She said the other day, like she was with one of her friends, and her friend had brought her little sister along, who was only like, 5, 6 years old. And they saw an ambulance go by with the lights on and go through a red light.
Yeah.
And the little girl was like, can they do that? Can they go through the light? And she goes, yeah. She goes, they're allowed to do that. They when they have the lights on, they can go through the red light. And then she goes, and sometimes my dad does too.
And so that's a big deal to memorize a whole play. Because, like, when you shoot movies or TV, you can go scene for scene. It's a big deal, right? Getting that all in your head.
Yeah, but I also find like it's I just think it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
And I met with some of the actors, and we were already
Was
like,
it you and Bob and Kieran and who else? Is it Cannavale or no?
No, Michael McKeon.
Oh.
And so it's those 4 people. I think Bobby Cannavale did it. He's done it before.
Yeah.
I definitely talked to him. He's been helping me through it. And, but like, we were hanging out, and we were just the busting chops that was already happening.
Yeah.
It was really good natured and funny. Like, Michael, I'm so happy to be working with you. I mean, Bob, I don't want to work with Bob. Just like that level of, just around. And, it just seems like it's going to be, I just think it's going to be a lot of fun.
So when does it, so you haven't even started rehearsals yet?
Yeah, we start rehearsals beginning of February, and then mid-March it starts going.
And so you locked into New York for like, what, a month of rehearsals, and then you go?
Yeah, something like that, 6 weeks or whatever. So I just figure, like, everybody's getting off. It's kind of cool, dude, like the Better Call Saul, Breaking Bad sort of connection that we all have. And, like, someone was saying that they had talked to Brian, asked for advice, and he said, be off book so all of your rehearsal time is working on the character. So if Brian says something, you do it.
Right,
because
sure.
that guy's unbelievable.
He is. He's great. I just watched the whole series again. It's so funny when you were on the plane the other day, and I didn't even know you were sitting behind me.
That was so funny. And then you stood up and like, looks like Marc Maron.
Yeah.
Like, Mark.
And I was just rewatched Breaking Bad. So literally I'm watching you on TV, and then I get up and I'm like, oh, there he is.
Yeah.
So now I got to go back in the house and find that thing.
All right, well. You have beautiful woodwork in this house. So
Thank
I
you
would
so
go
much.
a little easier on your drawers.
All right, Bill. Good seeing you, man.
All right, buddy. I'll see you.
There you go. Again, tickets are on sale now for Glengarry Glen Ross on Broadway, and also Bill's special Drop Years premieres on Hulu on March 14th. Hang out for a second, folks. It's time to take the stress out of renting and home buying thanks to the Redfin app. Redfin makes it fun to search all the homes for sale and apartments for rent in your neighborhood. And if you find a place you love, Redfin makes it easy to go see it in person. Just schedule a tour right from the app. Plus, if you're looking to sell, Redfin agents know how to get you the best price possible for your home. That's because they close twice as many deals as other agents. And with a listing fee as low as 1%, Redfin's fees are half of what others often charge, which means you'll have more money to put towards your next home. So if you're looking to buy, rent, or sell, Redfin's got you covered. Download the Redfin app to get started. Hey, folks, longtime listeners probably know Dan Pashman. He used to work with me at Air America Radio, and we've had him on over the years when he became the host of his own podcast, The Sporkful. Last week, The Sporkful turned 15 years old, and Dan was on the Friday show with Brendan and Chris, which is available now for full Maron listeners.
You know, back in 2010, it was the Stone Ages of podcasting, and Mark was our first celebrity guest, and so I emailed the people at Apple Podcasts, that back then it was iTunes, to see if they would feature Mark's appearance on The Sporkful in their big promotional carousel. Now, today here in 2025, there are whole teams of marketing and PR people who are lobbying Apple to get features in this carousel. It is prime real estate. You cannot buy it. It's only up to the editorial discretion of what is actually a group of people at Apple. But back in 2010, you literally just emailed a guy named Steve.
Steve Jobs?
No, not that Steve. Steve Wilson. But and you were like, hey, Steve, I'm this guy, Dan. I have a podcast called The Sporkful. Marc Maron, famous podcaster, is going to be on my show in a couple of weeks. And he'd be like, oh, cool. Yeah, sure. Just here's the specs. Send me the art. And that was it. You know, and that was how we got featured in Apple in 2010, was that I literally just emailed Steve and he said, okay.
Yeah.
To hear the full episode with Dan Pashman and get bonus episodes twice a week, sign up for the full Maron. Go to the link in the episode description or go to WTFpod.com and click on WTF Plus. And a reminder before we go, this podcast is hosted by Acast. Here's a bit of guitar work from The Vault.
Boomer lives. Monkey and LaFonda. Cat angels everywhere.